everyone, welcome back to the Toal Tribe channel. Thanks for stopping by. If you're new here, I'm Lorianne, and today I'm going to be sharing formula feeding essentials, products that I use, that I love, things that are just going to make your formula feeding journey so much easier. I know that for all the years I imagined like what motherhood was going to look like for me. I kind of always envisioned myself breastfeeding or at least pumping and using breast milk. I was kind of naive, and it never occurred to me that I might have to supplement with formula or that I would be in a position where I would be solely formula feeding. Our son is adopted, and so our journey this whole time has been formula feeding. From the time that we've had him, we've kind of built up our repertoire of products that we love that just make our lives so much easier, and I wanted to share them with you. So the first part of formula feeding, and possibly the most difficult part, is figuring out what formula you're going to be using. Likely when the baby is born in the hospital, they will be providing a formula. I'm not actually sure if you can like go in with your own formula and say like, no, this is what we want to use. I actually don't know. You might be able to, I'm sure you can. We didn't do that. We used the formula the hospital had available, which was actually Similac, and it comes in like those pre-made bottles that you just shake up and add the nipples to. I'm gonna get to those in a minute. You're gonna want to do your research. You may want to continue using Similac. You may want to switch to Infamil, which is like the other really big brand of formula here in the US. You might want to use a generic store brand, you know, version of one of those. You might want to go out on the interwebs and buy formula from Holland or somewhere in Europe where the ingredients you feel like are cleaner or you know, more beneficial. Whatever you want to do, that's your prerogative. I mean, I am one of those people that's like fed is best. I hate when people that breastfeed look down upon people that formula feed, and I hate that people that formula feed kind of criticize other people for the kind of formulas that they use. It's up to everybody, and honestly everything works differently for every baby. So you might pick one formula initially, and you might find out that a month in, like, it's just upsetting your baby's stomach, it's just not working for them, and you might have to switch to something else. When we left the hospital, we switched Josiah over to Infamil NeuroPro. That was just a decision. I was doing some research online and I liked what I was reading about Infamil over some other brands. Another thing I liked about Infamil that I think you have to keep in mind as a formula feeding parent is how easy it is to get your hands on the formula. Obviously, Infamil is sold at pretty much any retailer where you can get formula. You can get it at Target, Walmart, the grocery store, drugstores. And that was important to me because while I do like a lot of what I read about the formulas from overseas, having to remember to order formula when you're getting low can be a lot, especially when you're like sleep deprived and dealing with a lot of other things. It's just more convenient for me. So if you're formula feeding from the beginning of your child's life, they're likely going to be itty bitty and they're just not eating a lot at one time. So in the early days, you might not be measuring your feedings in ounces, and it can be really hard to track milliliters on a regular baby bottle. So what I recommend is using these little pre-made bottles if your brand has them. If they don't, I believe that Dr. Brown's has those little cylinder bottles that you can screw. I think the same nipples that you put on these, you can screw onto those, and those would be good. I think those are really for like breast milk and storing like pumped breast milk, but in this case you can use them for formula too. And I believe the measurements go small enough in milliliters so that you can use them to really track what your baby's eating. Because if you see here, I don't know if this is gonna focus, there you go. The measurements are much smaller. You might be saying like, oh, baby ate 15 milliliters this last feeding, which is obviously shy of an ounce, and it's gonna be hard for you to convert that. So just use the milliliters, and this is easy. And I also really, really loved these in the very beginning when Josiah was eating like every 2 hours, like especially throughout the middle of the night, because I could wake up literally half asleep, grab one of these, shake it up, throw a new nipple on it, and just like feed him really quickly and then put him back down. There was no like getting up to like measure powder formula and adding in water, and this just made it so much easier in those first couple of weeks. These also make feeding your baby on the go in those early days a lot easier than using powder formula, so just something to consider. Another really easy way to feed baby on the go, or to kind of make mixing a bottle like really seamless without having to measure, is using one of these little like pre-put together packs. These are single serve packs. Again, Infamil has these, Similac I believe has these. I don't know about all the other brands, to be totally honest with you. Obviously there are other ways that you can bring your powder formula along with you, and these are kind of expensive to buy. This is actually samples that Infamil had sent with one of, you know, their baby like care packages. This is Gentle Ease, that's why I have these, because we don't use these, so these are left over. I'm still trying to like unload these on somebody who does use these. So anyway, this is great. We had like the regular Infamil ones, and I would use those if like running to his doctor's appointment ran ran in the middle of a feeding, it was easy for me to just like dump this in a bottle with some water, shake it up, and I could feed him like in the car, like in the parking lot or whatever. So I really do love having these, but again, they're pricey, so it's kind of, for me, a luxury to be able to buy these. But I do love how like light and small they are to have in your diaper bag. So again, I don't buy these very often, and I probably won't, but they're nice to have. Something you're absolutely going to need for formula feeding on the go is some kind of formula dispenser. This one is the Philips Advent dispenser. Now, I like that this one is kind of smaller. It only has 3 chambers though, so if you're going out on a trip where you're going to be gone pretty much all day long and your baby is still in a phase where they're eating every like 3 hours, you probably are going to need something a little bit more substantial than this. They have stacker ones that are, you know, accommodating of more feedings. This is just 3 pieces. It comes with the top, and it comes with your actual container, so that when the baby is no longer, you know, maybe on formula or whatever, you can use this as a snack cup, which I also like the idea that it's like kind of multi-purpose. And then it has this middle piece, which is like the formula chamber where it's separated. So like I said, it only holds 3 feedings of formula, but you just scoop what you need right into each part, and then you put your lid on. It's wet because it just came out of the dishwasher. And then depending on what chamber you need, you just twist the cap and open it. So when you're dumping, it's only coming out of that one chamber and everything else stays secure in the other 2. I really do like having this for feedings on the go. So now let's get into formula feeding gear. I don't know why, but baby gear is always something that I have just kind of geeked out over. Just like an interest of mine for whatever reason. But I love a lot of like the advancements that have been made in formula feeding over the past like couple of years. By far, the product that has made our formula feeding journey just like the easiest has been the Baby Brezza Pro Advanced Formula Dispenser. Now, I talked about this product in my newborn favorites. It's been a few months. I'm still obsessed with it. I still love it. And I definitely think that if you were going to be solely formula feeding, this is something that you're probably going to want in your life. It's a little pricey. It's $200. And sure, you're saying like, Lorianne, I could just scoop the formula into the bottles, add the water, and mix it myself. But let me tell you, this machine like perfectly dispenses the amount of formula that you need based off of what formula you're using. You have to program it in the beginning. It's super simple. It perfectly dispenses the powder, and then it adds the amount of water needed to make the bottle, and it adds it at the temperature that you need it added. It literally takes all of the brain work out of making a bottle. You just have to put the bottle there and hit start. 2 ounces is the smallest bottle it makes, and 10 ounces is the largest bottle that it makes, and you can also adjust the temperature of water that you want. I have to tell you, I have never had a problem with Josiah's bottles being like too powdery and not enough water, or too watery and not enough powder. The temperature has always been perfect. I know that I've read reviews where people have had different experiences, but I have to tell you, we have never had a problem. The most annoying thing about this machine is that every 4 bottles, you have to pull out the little chamber where everything is dispensed, and you have to wash it and then put it back in. But if I'm being honest, like first world problems, it's really not that big of a deal. And when you pull it out, you see why that needs to happen, because formula can get stuck to it with the water coming out of the same chamber. And so the formula kind of builds up, and in order for it to stay sanitary, you have to clean it every couple of bottles. But it really doesn't take long to clean, and then you just snap it back in place and go. Another piece of formula feeding gear that I really love is also by Baby Brezza, or is it Brezza? I'm not actually sure. I could be pronouncing it totally wrong. If I am, please let me know in the comments so I don't sound so ignorant. But anyway, it is their instant bottle warmer. And basically what this thing is, it's just like a warm water dispenser, or cool water dispenser, really. It has 3 different temperatures: cool, somewhere in between, and then warmer. You just fill it up with purified water. It warms the water in the chamber and keeps it warm, and then you just place your bottle in the holder, hit the little button, and dispense as much water as you need for your bottle. You may be thinking, Lorianne, you have the formula dispenser downstairs that makes bottles quickly and like perfectly, like why do you need this other gadget? Well, our home is 2 floors. And when Josiah was at the point where he was eating in the middle of the night, I was not walking my half asleep behind down the stairs every night to make a bottle for him every like 3 hours. It just like wasn't gonna happen. I mentioned I love these little pre-made bottles for the beginning, but once Josiah was drinking like more than 2 fluid ounces, I would have to give him more than one of these, and that's just excessive. And these are actually pretty expensive to buy, more expensive than just buying, you know, tubs of powder formula. So the alternative I switched to was using like a bottle warmer and making a bottle and putting it in there. And that thing heated the bottles so unevenly. It was so terrible. The bottle itself would be burning hot, like the plastic on the bottle, but the milk inside would be ice cold. And I was just like, this is awful. It takes too long. He's screaming. And I looked for a better alternative. And that's when I came across the Baby Brezza, you know, instant bottle warmer. So we keep that in our bedroom on a desk that we have in there. You can put it on your nightstand. It's probably about like this wide, like all the way around, and then it's kind of taller, so it doesn't take up a ton of space. I enjoy having a formula station both downstairs and upstairs. And also I want to add in the price. If the Baby Brezza Pro Advanced Formula Dispenser at $200 is just too much, if it's that out of your price range, I totally get that. Babies need a lot of things, and sometimes it can be overwhelming, the price tags on things, so that's a lot more affordable. And maybe you just want to have that in your home as like your main mode of bottle making, and that's okay too. Now let's talk about bottles. So I know I've said this before on my channel, but I want to caution you, do not go out and buy a whole set of one kind of bottle or register for like a whole set of one kind of bottle. I know so many people that did that, and then they couldn't use them because their baby didn't like them, and so then they're rendered useless, or you have to find somebody to unload them onto. So just be careful with that. I recommend getting bottles from a few different brands to have on hand until you can kind of get an idea of what baby prefers to use. In the long run, that's going to save you just like a lot of money and like frustration. You'll get a lot of different baby samples with different like registries that you do. I know that like I got the Philips Advent bottle from the Bye Bye Baby registry, and I went to a baby trade show once and I got the Mam bottle. I have a whole variety of bottles. This is a Komotomo bottle. This is a Tommy Tippy bottle. This is a Boone Nourish bottle. Zaya isn't super picky about bottles, so we're actually able to still use all of these different kinds of bottles, but we've discovered that he definitely prefers the Tommy Tippy ones. And once we learned that, we registered for more of these, and then like the bigger ones, the next size up. So that's what we'll use because we don't have like the Boone Nourish or the Komotomo in the bigger sizes. So once he's no longer eating like 5 ounces, I think that's as high as these go. This one might only be 4. I don't know. This one I don't really love so much. I love the look of this bottle, and I love that the pouch collapses when they're using it, but I will caution you, it's really, like I can't even find it right now. It's really, really hard to see the measurements. So when you're trying to measure how much your baby is eating, it's really hard to see it, especially in the middle of the night. God help you in the middle of the night trying to see this. It's impossible. All right, and once you have bottles, you gotta clean them. That's probably my least favorite part of formula feeding, cleaning the bottles. There are just so many of them in a day. I feel like I wash bottles like just shy of 40 times a day, but it is what it is. Let's quickly talk about sterilizing bottles. There are a lot of products on the market that allow you to put your bottles, your nipples, the rings, everything into the sterilizer pod, and then you just start it up, and they boast, you know, quick sterilization and drying. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that these products were probably more essential back at a time when people didn't have dishwashers in their kitchen, or when dishwashers weren't as widely used or have as many functions as they have now. Nowadays, most of us have dishwashers, and they have sanitized, steam, and dry features on them, and so you can probably do all of that for your bottles in your everyday dishwasher. I probably just wouldn't do it with any of your other dishes. I would just put the bottles and all of their components in there solo, or you can kick it really old school and put your bottles in a pot with some water and bring them to a boil for a couple of minutes and sterilize them that way. That's what I did because I just didn't want to have a sterilizer in our kitchen. Our kitchen is really small. We didn't want to add one more thing on top of our counter, and we don't really have a whole lot of storage space for it. So I kind of deemed that as an unnecessary item. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't have a dishwasher, you don't want to do it old school, maybe you're a little OCD, maybe you want to sterilize your bottles like after every use, that might be something really handy for you to have. I'll be honest with you, I'm not that OCD. I sterilize them when I first take them out of the box. Then from there on, I sterilize occasionally. Probably every 2 weeks, I go and do a round of sterilization of all of the bottles and their pieces, and in between, I'm just washing them and letting them air dry. If you're putting your bottles in the dishwasher, chances are you can just put your bottles like on that top rack or whatever, just like totally normal. But for the little components like the nipples and the little rings, if it's an anti-colic bottle, the little pieces inside, you're probably gonna wanna put those in a place where they're not like flying all over the dishwasher. So I recommend getting like a dishwasher basket for you. That might be essential if that's gonna be your main mode of cleaning your bottles and supplies. This basket is actually by OXO. It matches our air drying rack, which I'll show you in a little bit. And I like this one because you can easily slide the nipples in here. It's kind of shaped perfectly for your nipple to slide in here and then the top to stick out here, and then it just kind of closes. You did it that way with the nipples on top. You could fit 8 nipples on top of here. You can also always just throw them down here along with the rings, whatever you have to do. This is also just just gonna be handy to have a little bit later on when your child is eating food and has like little utensils, because you can put them in here so they're not mixing with, you know, your metal, you know, everyday utensils. We don't use our dishwasher to wash our bottles, mostly just because there's something up with our dishwasher. It takes like half a century to wash a load of dishes in there, so I really hate using it. My husband loves to use it, but for bottles, I can't afford to like not have my bottles on hand for like literally 3 hours. I'm not even kidding. It takes 3 hours to wash a load of dishes in our house. And so when I'm going through bottles, like I want them available to me quickly, which is why I prefer to hand wash. But if you have a normal dishwasher, it's probably fine. But anyway, I don't have a like baby safe dishwasher kind of soap, dishwasher tab or whatever detergent to recommend to you guys. I think Dapple has one. I use the Dapple liquid dish soap and I really like that. So maybe their powder, you know, tablets for your dishwasher are just as good. Not sure. If you are somebody that does wash your baby bottles in the dishwasher and you have a good recommendation, leave it down below so that people can check that out. Now for hand washing, like I mentioned, you're gonna need a liquid dish soap and then you're going to need a brush. You don't want to be using the same brush that you use on your everyday dishes. You don't want to be using the sponge you use on your everyday dishes. That could be kind of gross. You just want one brush to just dedicate solely to your baby things that only gets your baby's dish soap on it. I like the Dapple dish soap. I use this all the time. I've never had a problem where like the bottles don't like look or seem clean after using this. They're always like crystal. I could see through them. They're perfect. And then this is just the OXO bottle brush. So I actually really like this one because the bristles are a lot softer. So while they're really flexible, I can get into like the tip of the nipple pretty easily with this, even though it does have, here you just click this button and then you pull this out. It's like a cleaner for actually getting in the nipple and making sure all of those little crevices are clean. So I like that that's one piece. Because that just makes it super simple. You don't have to have a lot of pieces. Now, if you're not using your dishwasher for the drying feature or one of those like all-in-one sanitizing, drying products, you're gonna need a rack to air dry your bottles on. Now, I know a lot of people really love like the Boone grass that you can, you know, use, and then you use the little add-ons to hang like the nipples and the little rings and all the little pieces. A lot of people use those. Those are cool. I didn't personally want to use one of those, and the only reason is, again, I don't have a lot of counter space in my kitchen, and those lay flat and take up a lot of space. So I actually found this OXO drying rack to be a better fit for us. It has a pretty slim profile, so I just push this up against our backsplash. It doesn't take up a lot of space. And I put all of like the nipples and like the rings up top, and it is slotted. So all of that water can kind of drip down, and then like this, like you see, this also comes out and can be washed or dishwashed. You only have 9 prongs here to wash bottles, but again, I wash bottles so frequently throughout the day that that never seems to be an issue. And this drying rack at the bottom also pops out so that you can wash it. But that about wraps up my formula feeding essentials video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you're watching this and you are a formula feeding mom, or you were a formula feeding mom, and there was anything that you used to make your journey easier, please leave those recommendations down below. I would love to hear from you. I'm sure other people would love to learn from you as well. And also, if you just have any questions or comments, you can leave those down below too. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe for more content from us in the future. There is a screaming child upstairs with my husband that I need to go attend to. So I will see you guys in our next video. Bye.